Okay.
Aha! I have a live show.
Cool.
On my feed.
Okay.
Yes. Got it. Oh, it's good to see your full banner on there.
Yeah.
Oh, mine?
Yeah. You can...
Okay. We have actual viewers now. So I agree that it worked. Okay.
And more than just us as well.
So we're still waiting for Diana to rejoin. I think I'm going to see if I can view the chat now.
I've got the chat. Hi, Joe. Hi, Tammy. Cool.
Hello.
I hope you're not hearing this cat snoring like right in the background of my, like he's sleeping behind my mic.
Hey, Anna.
I mean, I'm sure it would be super cute if we could, but I can't.
I just tried to take some of my fabrics away because he started sleeping on top of them, and then he grabbed my arm and just like clawed it and was like, "No, you're not taking any of these." So
yeah, no, you absolutely can't. That's that. Do you not know the rules?
apparently I don't. So I needed to be reminded.
Have I ever told you about how my smallest cat just snorts instead of meows? We've heard her meow literally like 3 times in her whole life because she's got like the squish face. She's a Persian. And so she literally can't.
Oh, here we go.
She just snorts.
Oh.
Katie.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, Tabby can meow. Particularly, she can meow at dinner time, just before dinner time. That's usually when she meows. She always just wants something. But the thing she doesn't, when she sleeps and when she's sleeping deeply and she snores, like, it sounds exactly like a person trying real hard to hold in a fart and failing. like the very slow, like it's just good. It's just really funny. And it's so loud as well. Like, I'm working at a computer, like, 2 meters away from her, and I'm like, is there something wrong with the audio in this video? No, it's just a cat.
Welcome to the first Stitch and Bitch.
So I want to see what everybody's working on. I haven't seen your guys' projects or anything, so this is mine. You can't really see anything yet.
So I have like this. I'm making a kind of mood board right now.
Sorry, your cat's eating your notebook. It's just Pete Cat.
Today I'm not working on my blanket. I'm working on a reading sweater. It was easier to move where I'm at right now.
Ooh, you're working on a sweater?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I am thinking about trying to finally attempt a real piece of clothing next when I finish up what I've got like 3 different projects on the go. That's my next one.
Nice.
Yeah.
What you got there?
Well, I'm doing hexagons. And what I need to figure out is how to, apparently you can like put them together when you're crocheting rather than having to sew them all together at the end, which would be great because it would save so much time. But basically, like, they just go together in a granny blanket, but instead of having a bunch of colors, it's 1 color per hexagon. I'm just still really confused about what I'm going to do for my colors because I think I either have too many or not enough.
Ooh.
And I don't know what categories I want to go for because, if I'm going to do SF, I'm going to do science fiction, I'm going to do fantasy, but then do I do like YA sci-fi and fantasy and YA contemporary is separate. I don't read adult contemporary. That's not, if I do, that's a different genre, right? That's romance or something like that. But yeah, I just don't. There's a lot of choices. So.
Yeah, I limited my colors just because if I was making a blanket, I might do colors for like YA sci-fi fantasy and YA contemporary and all that, but because it's a scarf, I end up limiting what colors I'm using. So YA is just like really broad at this point.
I have a question for you, Diana.
Sure.
Is that a chair backboard or is that a headboard?
It's a chair.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I have photos of it because I'm currently sitting of it, but one of my moms and my grandpa made me a book chair. So, and it's modular. So it's a bunch of boxes that you can hinge out, and it will has shelves and stuff. And so that's the backboard of it. And it made my move so much easier because I have a lot of books, and because of the size of the boxes, it was like a good weight in terms of like how many books I could fit into these boxes. So I didn't repeat my mistake of 2 years ago and put too many books in too big of a box.
No.
That's great. That is amazing.
I just love that chair so much. It looks so cool. Like
very comfy.
It's like a throne. Like you can't see enough of it right now, but it's like a book throne.
It is a throne. It's my throne, which my cat will occasionally claim from me.
Yeah, that's fair.
As cats are wont to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, Di, did you decide to do a Star Wars color in the end?
I do. I do have a Star Wars color. It is. Hold on. I have to. It's this color. It's like a charcoal gray.
Ooh. Like a gunmetal gray.
Yeah. So far, I've only read one Star Wars book, but that is going to change because they're publishing so much this year, and it's going to kill me, but in the best way.
You would know this better than me, Di, but is there a Holdo book coming out? Because I know I've asked you this before, I'm sure.
At this point, no. But adorable teenage Holdo shows up in Claudia Gray's Leia, Princess of Alderaan book, which is fantastic.
I'm probably in like the minority in God damn it. I'm probably in the minority in this like group as the person who wasn't like the biggest fan of The Last Jedi. But Holdo was the character I really wanted to know more about. Like she was so aesthetically pleasing, and I just like she just walked to the screen and I was like, yes, please. I want more like shock-haired people in the Star Wars canon, please.
Yeah, if you haven't read it yet, I really I would really recommend Leia, Princess of Alderaan, and just all of Claudia Gray's Star Wars books in general because they're all fantastic.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to like I have the one Star Wars book. I have the anthology. That's all about the like unnamed like side characters.
Oh yeah, from a certain point of view.
Yeah. I have that, and I want to read that.
That one's good. The Tatooine segment. The Tatooine segment for me was like visiting Tom Bombadil's house in Fellowship of the Ring, where it just like kind of drags on, and it gets to the point where it feels unnecessary.
I basically like that whole anthology. I saw Ken Liu tweet about it, that he had a story in it that's basically about the IT support on Death Star. And I was like, I have never felt so seen in any piece of media. I need to read this.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's some really, really good stories in there. And Claudia Gray, I'm just going to keep talking about Claudia Gray because I really love her Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
But she has a story in there that's from Qui-Gon's point of view, and like I'm reading it as like set up for her Master and Apprentice book, which, like I said, is going to kill me, but in the best way.
Should we go around and say what everyone's reading at the moment?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to start since you suggested it?
I was gonna not start. But sure. Right now I am in the middle of Orbital Cloud, which I'm in love with more than a little bit. Yes, Rachel does the happy dance at that. Which is about, I don't know quite how to describe it. It's like, imagine Fear of the Space Race, but with a lot of consideration for the international law, and also Iranian spies and North Korean spies. It's pretty great. And then for my audiobook, I actually just finished Yoon-Ha Lee's The Dragon Pearl.
Oh, how's
Which
that?
How was that?
I really liked it. You could tell it sounded like Yoon-Ha Lee, but with less of the like, here's a bunch of mathematics that you won't understand. But still very good in like a very genuine sounding voice. So now I'm trying to figure out what my audiobook for the week is going to be, and I'm thinking it's Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett.
Nice.
I feel like Yoon-Ha Lee writing middle grade is the kind of Yoon-Ha Lee that is like mentally, like I am mentally capable of reading that, because I felt so dumb reading Nine Fox Gambit. I felt so bad that I could not understand it.
It's pure fantasy.
Well,
and has like
well, I'm gonna stand here with you as the second language English speaker, you know, like it's just a lot. It's a lot. No, I tried to read it on audio, and I read really complicated, weird stuff on audio, but that was like
a lot.
That was. There's not that many things that I can't read on audio, and it was like that and China Medieval, and I was like, So I have the books. I need to just get into them at some point.
Yeah, like sometimes I forget that English is not my first language, because I read so many, like more books in English that I read in my own language. So when I don't understand things, it's kind of a shocker. And I'm like,
excuse me, how dare you, book?
I'm still mad at you and Google Translate for putting all of those Finnish books up, and then Google Translate made me think that they were in English, and I was like, I can read these, and then that was not the case.
I will always try to mention if a book is translated though, and I will have a video coming out with like Finnish fantasy books that are getting translated at some point.
I'm into that.
But I'm like so salty at Finnish publishers not doing the legwork of trying to sell international rights to some of those books, because there are so many like super fantastic, especially in fantasy books. Like it feels like Finnish sci-fi has some like lift because of Hannu Rajaniemi and stuff. So like Finnish sci-fi is getting translated more. And then Finnish fantasy is kind of like there in its own little corner, in its own little ball pit, like, we are here too, and nobody cares.
It's Finnish fantasy usually like more closer to like the weird in terms of a genre, you know, because I remember when we went to Helsinki for WorldCon, they had this like a little pamphlet of Finnish SFF, and a lot of it was Finnish weird.
Yeah, there are like, for example, Johanna Sinisalo, who is like the big name.
Yeah, she was a guest of honor, wasn't she?
Yeah, she is very much like writes both sci-fi and fantasy, and is definitely in the weird category. But I have a project this year of reading more Finnish fantasy, and for the most part, it seems like it's like kind of traditionalist in a sense, that it's more like high fantasy with fairy tale-esque elements. Like, for example, I think Rachel has read Maresi by Maria Turchaninov. I think it's more in that vein, kind of more like fairy tale-esque, more, and kind of exploring themes of like oppression and minority struggle and such. And usually very localized, like not set in a huge spanning world, like it might be epic fantasy, but it has more like a localized setting and more of a character focus.
Like in the vein of she's not Finnish, I don't think, but Emmy and Toronto kind of stuff.
I think she's Finnish. She lives in England.
She's Finnish. She just writes in English and lives in England.
No way. She has like the best I mean, I don't know. Someone told me this, but it was like the coolest writing language thing I've ever heard. Someone told me that she like writes a draft in English and then she like translates the draft in Finnish as her second draft. Like as her second draft, she goes over and translates it and then goes back and forth. And I mean, you know,
she doesn't have she doesn't have like a traditional translator who translates her work. She does both versions kind of side by side at the same time. That's why I wouldn't count her work as translated fiction, because she doesn't use a translator, whereas Hannu Rajaniemi writes in English and he has a Finnish translator who translates his work into Finnish, even though he could do it himself. But that's actually
God, that sounds so hard to do though. Like brains in language, you know, that's a very specific and specialized way of working. Like if I was writing fiction, I'd do it in English and I'd be like, someone else is translating. That's hard.
Yeah,
that's real hard.
A few years back, she was one of the guests in FinCon, and she had like a really interesting talk about her writing process, and I just listened to it and was like, nope, I could not do that. Like just could not. But yeah, Emmi Itaranto, I think, is a very good indicator of what Finnish fantasy is kind of like. Like what kind of themes a lot of Finnish fantasy authors like to explore. And also I was super excited how many of the books that I want to read have queer themes, because that's something that has like really happened recently. Like when I was something like 15 or something, queer themes in Finnish books, never.
That's really cool.
What are you reading now, Rhea?
Funny you should ask. I came prepared.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
I'm like kind of like not enjoying it too much, actually.
Oh.
Like
I have heard things about it.
I'm a little over like halfway through, and like there are parts that I like, but there are more parts that I don't like, so it's kind of evening out into a pile of meh.
Oh. Maybe it'll get better as you reach like the second and third act.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. But I have Blanca y Roja.
I still need to read that. I absolutely. I like.
That's next.
When the Moon Was Ours was like one of my favorite books I read in 2017, and like it made me cry.
Yeah, I read Wild Beauty in December, and it was like one of my favorite books of the whole year. I just loved it so much, and it has probably the best written bisexual representation I've ever read in anything or ever seen in anything, because I'm very particular about my bi rep, and that was so well done.
I've heard nothing but good things about her books, and I still haven't read any. But I think When the Moon Was Ours was Tiptree winner.
Yeah.
I will eventually get to my project where I read all the Tiptree winners.
Oh, that's going to be so cool. Let's see. So I'm reading... I didn't finish a whole ton of books in January, considering I was like angsting about reading loads of books for the blanket. But I've currently got Heroine Complex,
Oh,
Sharaku
that one's good.
Ooh. Yeah,
is
that's
like
fine.
super fun so far. I'm not really far into it, but it's about this girl who's like a PA to her best friend who's a superhero, and also like a bit of a pain in the butt. But like, you know, they have one of those relationships where it's very clear that she's like, yeah, you know what, sometimes she's a pain, but she does a lot of good work, and she's, you know, under a lot of pressure, and I love her, and like, you know, I'm really good at dealing with her and getting stuff done for her, and that's something I enjoy doing, which I can relate to. And so yeah, it's really fun so far, and so she has to take her friend's place as a superhero, which I don't know how realistic I buy that she manages to like take her friend's place, but I'm sure it'll just like kick off a bunch of shenanigans. And then
I really love that series. It's a lot of fun, and Evie and Aveda and B are fantastic, and I love them a lot.
Okay,
that seems like a series that is like super fun, like a kind of like popcorn read, if there is such a thing.
Read.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm always looking for things that I kind of feel like this reads like a good fic does, or this reads like Giant Days does. You know, like when I find something like that where it's like, this is effortless, I know the characters like immediately super, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they feel like, you know, they feel like real people, even though you've just seen them take, like literally in the opening scene, she takes down like a bunch of demons that have taken the form of fanged cupcakes. But like,
I forgot about that. That's so good.
Still feels like regular. Yeah. And the other thing that I'm reading right now is the Book of M by Peng Shepherd, which I picked up because Anna over at Book Smugglers had it has like her favorite of the year. And it's completely, I kept kind of hearing about it, but not what it was about at all. And I just kind of picked it up with no clue what it was about, because it was on Scribd. So I just started listening to it. And it's about the post-apocalypse. So that's great. I'm enjoying it. It's about the post-apocalypse. Yeah, people are. And also it's getting a bit culty, which I'm also really excited about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's set in this post-apocalyptic world where one day people start losing their shadows, and once they've lost their shadow, after like, you know, a few days, they start losing random memories. And as they start losing memories and not knowing what thing is true or not anymore, like the things that they believe mistakenly start shaping the world. And so like, you know, if I'm looking for my house and I can't remember where it is, but I can remember like what shape the window is, like suddenly the house that I'm walking past like will acquire that window. It's still not my house, you know, and that kind of thing, like that kind of like slightly weird things. And yeah, it's following a whole bunch of characters. It's doing that thing where it's following the apocalypse from beginning to end. I'm really liking it.
That actually sounds like really interesting, but also like one of those reads where you have to kind of be in the moment when you are reading it. Like, for example, to figure out certain details and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's it doesn't like, because a lot of it is kind of going back to how it first happens. You kind of discover it alongside the characters. I find it very easy to read. But yeah.
Nice.
Time to see if my library has it. Like every time someone mentions a book, I'm like, does my library system have it?
Do you do audiobooks? I can't remember.
Yeah, but like this year, yay, my library does have it. Anyway, this year, last year I got into Audible.
Oh yeah.
Specifically, I got into Audible, not audiobooks,
Sure.
which means that I paid for my Audible every month. and I got like I started stocking credits because I was like, I need to wait for a sale, like 2-for-1 thing or something.
Oh no,
I
those
can...
are always terrible though. Like they only ever have like book 3 of a series, and like it's got 4 pages of books, and 2 of them are by women. It's quite starkly badly chosen, their sales.
Yeah. If you're from Audible,
they do
if
have
you ever come across this, you should let us make a list. That'd be fun. Audible,
No,
let us
I
curate a
like
list.
went through a period where every single sale that they had for several years, by the way, because I was a Audible like early adopter. Well, I don't know, that sounds super wanky, but I've had Audible for like 6 years or something.
Yeah.
And I went through a period where every single time that they did a sale, I would tweet at them and be like, hey, this is how many women you have on sale on SFF compared to men. This is shit. Fix it. And they would always like, you know, do a faux apology or whatever. And then like just never, I mean, you know, like obviously they're not going to, obviously one random person tweeting at Amazon is not going to change shit. But
and it's also it's Amazon, so you know. I kind of feel a little bit guilty that I have Audible because it is Amazon, and I try to limit my Amazon buying.
Have you I don't know, do you have access to Scribd in Finland?
Well, yes and no. We have access to it, but there are some license stuff. Kind of like Netflix, where we do have access to Netflix, but it's the Nordic Netflix, so it doesn't have everything. So it's like some things aren't available because of licensing stuff, which is just like why. It's so stupid because like, not to get into the whole like piracy discussion, but I think that part of the reason why people pirate so much is because of area restrictions. Like you could have the services available for people, like or the products. Like
I mean, they've done studies on it, and they've found that people pirating, especially books, usually are people that have the means.
I really don't understand anyways. Like I don't understand. Like I have such a complex relationship with like my thoughts on piracy. Like I don't get it. Like personally, I don't get piracy like most of the time because if like, for example, libraries are a good example. Like for example, I read a heck ton of manga. And it used to be that manga scanlation sites were all the like everyone read like scanlations, which are basically like people scan the paperback and translate it, which means that when you have amateur translators scanning them and then putting them online, there are mistakes and such, but everyone was kind of reading them. And nowadays, I just don't see the point because there are so many access, right? Services. There is like libraries have like
the thing is, right? Like pirating stuff is not difficult, but it is a bit of a pain. Like, you know, going through all of the steps that you have to do to download a thing. Like I don't have time, and I would much rather like pay a subscription to a thing or have it available to buy somewhere because it's easier. And the point that they've got to realize is they've got to make it easier for us to buy things legally, right? Because if we could acquire, you know, they've just got to make it easier for people to acquire things in a legal fashion.
And then also like ebook pricing itself is like,
that's so
really absurd because and this is something Kay was talking about. There's a Tor.com ebook that's coming out this spring, and the hardcover is $30 and the ebook is about $14 or $15.
Yeah.
And it's just like
really short.
That's expensive. And because it's a Tor.com book, like I don't know if they're still doing that ridiculous libraries are not getting access to their ebooks until like 4 months. Like, I don't know if that's still in place, but it's
I don't know.
Is
But,
that Tor or Tor.com?
both.
Both of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Because also Tor.com have started publishing like novel length stuff, right? They published Witchmark, which was one of my favorite books of 2018. And I thought that was a novella because it was Tor.com, but it's definitely like 400 pages. And, you know, when they started doing these, like they were, I think these get a print run because Shauna Maguire is like well known enough, but a lot of their hardback novellas, a lot of their physical copies of novellas, they are print on demand, and that's why they're really expensive because they just don't have a print run.
And that makes sense. But like,
yeah, but that also makes me want to buy them physically if I have like the option of paying the same price for the physical item or buying the novella for the same price as an ebook, I'm going to buy the physical book because that means that I am getting more value for my money.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
And it's just frustrating because like I don't know what the exchange rate is up in Finland, but when I was in Canada, like a hardback book could like once taxes were taken in, could easily be over $40.
Well, we have like, if I go to a bookstore here, like a physical bookstore, usually the tax for a book is around 9 or 8%. So take an American like an American paperback for like $8.99 and add 8%. That's basically around like usually paperbacks over here cost like $12.90 or like 15 euros. And yeah, it's pretty expensive for like in-store shopping. That's why Amazon and Book Depository get so much get so much traffic from here.
Yeah.
And also which is why I'm hating on Brexit, because
we're not talking about the B word.
UK.
We're not talking about the B word.
Yeah. I'm just saying that I'm not ready to pay customs.
Sorry, but we're not talking about it.
Di, what are you reading?
So I'm reading 2 non-fiction because I tend to have like one digital book and one print book going at once. So my current digital book is all about art fraud, which is great. So it's called Provenance, and the subtitle is How a Con Man. I'm pulling up the Goodreads right now.
Sorry, so you said Provenance, and I was like,
Anne Leckie.
It's not Anne Leckie.
You did tell me about that book before.
Yeah, and I think it's something Ira had mentioned as well, but it's how a con man and a forger rewrote the history of modern art, and I'm about a quarter of the way in, and it's really fascinating so far. So like it's very much like still in the setup stage about like how the con man and the forger met and how they got started. But yeah, it's really interesting so far. I'm trying to read more like non-murdery true crime because I get kind of squicked with murdery true crime. And so I figure art forgery like fits that very well.
It's so hard because I really like murdery true crime, but then I cannot sleep at night.
Yeah, so this is good. And then the other nonfiction book I'm reading right now is a little bit more depressing. And I'm only about like 50 pages in, but it's called Imperfect Justice. And it's like a combination of history and memoir from a former assistant secretary of state who in the 1990s headed up efforts to get the Swiss banks and German companies to pay Holocaust victims. Because what I guess had happened was a lot of Holocaust victims had put their money in Swiss banks to like try and keep it away from Hitler, like when things started getting really bad. And then like for a variety of reasons, their descendants weren't able to get access to it. And so I'm still very early in, but it's a good, interesting so far.
Yeah. Well, that's really apt because it's Holocaust Remembrance Day today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it called? Say it again. I'm sorry.
Sure. Sorry, I'm pulling up my Goodreads right now. So it's called Imperfect Justice, Looted Assets, Slave Labor, and the Unfinished Business of World War II.
Okay. Oh, I see it right here. I'm going to try to make a list on Goodreads of all the books we mentioned so that I never forget.
Thank you.
Nice.
I'm going to drop that in the public chat for anybody who wants to help me add to this list because Goodreads is not liking me a ton.
Yeah. But yeah, I currently have over 30 books checked out, so I'm really trying to make make an impact in them because I have no self-control when it comes to libraries.
Fair enough.
I've been trying to limit myself on library use this year, like just start off the year with reading more of what I own. But then the awards season began and I went to the library and I just like cleaned off the new books shelf to get all the 2018 releases. Like I got to read all this stuff for Hugo nominations, right?
Yeah.
It's not helping my goal of reading my TBR this year.
Yeah. Also, I've made a list in my bullet journal of like stuff that I want to actually try and get to for nominations. And then I realized I still haven't even started an informal history of the Hugos yet, and I really want to read that. I know you do.
I
really want to read
It's like
that
a
too.
550-page book, and I read it in 2 days. It was so great.
Does it start
Hey,
with like
Rachel, do you like Joe Walton?
How would you ever guess?
Somebody's asking what we all think of anthologies.
They're great.
It really depends on the theme. I mean, yeah.
Like
Yeah, in theory, I really like them.
I like the idea of anthologies. Like you kind of dip in from like a few authors, maybe you pick an anthology up because of a certain author, and then you find like 5 more people who you never heard about before, and it's great to kind of see different writing styles, but they're kind of a mixed bag at the best of times. Like you will never like 9 times out of 10 you probably won't have like an anthology that's like 100% good and every story in it is like a 5-star automatically, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they can be mixed bags for me in terms of like, I mean, I haven't read as many anthologies as I want to, but yeah, sometimes like they're really good stories and other times they're like, why is this here stories?
I actually do have one anthology that I want to recommend because it is super good, and that is the Coyote Road. It's basically a bunch of trickster tales inspired by various cultures, like indigenous legends and various different cultures.
Ellen Datlow edited?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
That's what I was going to say, is with anthologies, a lot of times you end up following the editors, the anthologists themselves. Like you find the one who has the taste that you really like.
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, you know, if you're talking about nominating for awards, like oftentimes nominating for the short fiction Hugo, the short fiction, the short editor, short form editor. Thank you, brain. Sorry. Oftentimes nominating for the short form editor Hugo is a bit easier because, you know, if you've been reading anthologies and you've been following a little bit, then
yeah, I mean, I think the short form editor category is basically magazine editors, you know, John Joseph Adams from Lightspeed, Neil Clark from Clark's World, they're on there every year, and then the really well-known anthologists like Ellen Datlow. Makes it every year.
I was really glad a couple years ago when in the Starlit Wood got on there though, because I think Nava Wolf's still fairly new to anthology collection, isn't she?
Was Nava Wolf nominated in long form or short form? Because
I think both, because she does do both short and long form editing for Saga.
Yeah. Is she not a commissioning editor? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I just know I have a
was
big crush on
nominated
her.
in 2017, I think.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Rachel, did you say what you're reading?
Got a really long list.
Of course.
My main book right now is Embers of War by Gareth Powell, which is I want to call it space opera. I'm not actually sure what the term space opera means anymore, but so far it's really, really good. I think people who like Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, or just like Tchaikovsky's style in general, probably really like Embers of War.
Does it have giant spiders?
No. No.
I haven't read any Tchaikovsky yet, but I heard him speak on a panel some years ago, lovingly about like monsters and critters and like all that kind of bugs and stuff. And I was just like, I really read some of them books
and arachnids. And doesn't he have like an entire fantasy series with multiple books all about different insect-like species or something? I think he does.
I know he does the whole thing with the war dogs. I think like one of his like books or series is about the. Like,
he has a book called Dogs of War, I think. One of his
yeah.
And
it's basically like dogs bred for war and mechanized, and it's so weird. I haven't read it yet, but the whole description was like it's got puppies in it.
Yeah. I would probably be not okay with that.
It had to be done well. I'm really iffy on like sci-fi war stories that turn non-human species into soldiers, probably because I read David Brin's Startide Rising and what was the other book in that series? Like the last 2 books in that series, because they were Hugo Nebula Award winners. And this is the one where they've like modified chimpanzees to be soldiers. And I did not like those books. I did not like the books, and I didn't like the chimp character, and now I'm just kind of slightly biased against that sort of thing.
It's kind of like, I think those kinds of stories can have interesting things to say about how we treat animals in general in our like everyday lives, like right now in the real world. But I also think that it kind of treads that fine line of becoming sort of like torture porn and not being challenged enough to work as a kind of criticism.
Yeah.
Also, I think that oftentimes the author thinks they're doing something really clever and unique by metaphorizing this like fantasy race to talk about racism. And it's not unique, it's not new. They should stop doing it. They should write about oppression.
Usually whenever someone is like, I'm doing something completely new, I'm like, stop. Please.
Yeah.
Stop.
I hate those.
Chill pill, sit down.
I hate it. And this is like something similar, but like it's like, oh, I'm reinventing the romance genre, or I'm reinventing like YA, and it's like some white dude who's saying that, and it's just so annoying.
A couple of years ago, there was a white dude who was like, oh, I came up with this idea, telling stories in audio format via podcast. I've invented fiction podcasting. And like all like Escape Pod and like Merlafity like standing there going like, yeah. And they're like, look at this list of Parsec Award winners from the last 10 years, you ding dong.
Speaking of which, shout out to Rachel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of excited about getting to know the who gets on the Hugo like nomination list like this year. Like,
yeah, I mean, obviously, like I always want to know Hugo finalists, but I feel like it's been a couple years now since we've all made noise about how like booktubers are eligible, and every year I'm like, maybe this year. But last year was the first time that someone from Booktube made it onto the long list. So,
I'm trying not
sorry.
to think about it.
Is it really embarrassing? I don't want to be like to make it even more embarrassing. But
It's actually, I'm like, Booktube is usually like everyone is like, well, it's about the young adult, blah, 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 blah. Like everything is about YA. But I'm actually thinking like there's this sort of like change in the equilibrium sort of coming. Like first of all, people who are reading YA, who started their channels like years back, are kind of migrating more to like adult SFF and stuff, because their reading tastes are changing as they're growing up. And also I think people who maybe didn't watch a lot of like YouTube for books are kind of finding Booktube now, as like there's more audience coming in. Sort of.
One of the things that's starting to happen more and more frequently on my backlog of videos is I'm getting more comments from people who are like, I just thought Booktube was YA and then I found your channel. It's like sort of starting to puncture that bubble and get out of just the YA. Yeah. But I think with YouTube and the way, the algorithms work and everything, it's very easy for people to get caught in that bubble where you find Booktube through a YA channel and then all of your recommendations are YA. All of the other Booktubers that one channel interacts with are YA. And you have to really invest time in getting out of that and searching for things on your own.
I mean, you really have to invest time in tailoring your YouTube recommendations as well. Like if you don't pay attention to it, you really have to invest time in going in and going like, no, I do not want to see this video. Don't show me more videos from this channel. Like, because the algorithm is so bad.
Yeah.
Like,
literally, it recommends you things that you've already seen a million times. Like, I'm sorry, but like Google, what like website I went to look at like geeky sweaters yesterday. You should know that I watched this video on this very website like 6 months ago. It's like,
well, it's like when Amazon recommends
wrong.
And I don't know if this happens to you guys, but like I'm like, for folks I know who like are really into like Star Wars Twitter or like into that type, I know a lot of them keep getting like, this is how The Last Jedi destroyed Star Wars and like all those stupid whiny fanboy videos. And I don't know if you all get those as well, but like
I don't. Like it's great because I like the only type of recommendations my like YouTube gives me right now are K-pop videos and Booktube videos. Like that's the only two things.
The only thing about
like K-pop dance routines and then Booktube.
The thing that really drives me nuts about algorithms is when companies who have definitely know exactly what I buy recommend to me things that I already have bought. Like I can't go on Amazon for books because it's like, well, yet you have access to my Goodreads data. I know you have access to it. Why are you recommending this to me?
I know you like literally will tell me you have purchases on this date if you go on the same page again, like,
right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes when I go to Amazon to look at like Kindle books and stuff, I get super like Amazon guilt trips me into like thinking like I haven't purchased a book, and then I go through my purchases and see that I already have that book purchased. But they're like, have you seen this hot new book by this hot new author? And I'm like, I don't know. Have I seen it? Have I seen it?
Have I seen it? Is it in my house?
I did have an experience the other day where I bought a book at one of my local indie shops, which was I found, and it's one that's new to me. And also, Rachel, when you come visit me next, that's where we're going. And I dropped it in the bath. Went to go repurchase the and only to find out that I already owned it. This is after I went back to a different store. And I had the funniest experience with the older man who was like a clerk. because I went in and he was like, oh, what do you mean you're buying a second copy of this? Was it that good? And I was like, I dropped it in the bath. And he was like, he stopped what he was doing and he looked at me and he goes, you know, you never have to tell someone why you're buying a second copy of a book.
That's
Oy.
I actually like had a very weird interaction. Bree and Claire probably know of me and my weird interactions with people on like various public transport things. But I was reading like a couple of weeks back, going to lecture. I was reading a book in the bus, and once again, someone sat behind me, and I was reading. I turned the page, and they knocked me on my shoulder and asked,
no.
"I wasn't done yet."
No!
Like
Oh,
that's the
that's
second
so
time it has happened.
That's so awkward.
Like what?
This is where I read really graphic sex fan fiction on the bus.
Like that's the thing. I wish I would. Like I wish I would have had some like steamy erotica or something, because then I would have been like, take your time.
the
Take your
book,
time.
That's what she said. Oh man, Chelsea's gone as well. Oh, no.
That's like, who does that? I'm like, and
No,
why?
I mean,
why?
that's so
why do
rude.
they?
Like, why would you say that?
Yeah, and it's
Also,
not the
Do
it's
Finns
not the
even
first
talk
time it has
on
happened.
public transport? Do Finns
Like-
even talk on public transport? Because in London, you're not.
No. Like
This was the impression I
Never.
got from Finns when I worked. You know,
yeah,
Finns are
that's why,
delightful, but they don't.
that's why it's
do
even
that.
weirder. Like you don't like if someone is like sitting by themselves on the bus, you don't sit next to them. That seat has basically been taken already. Like and you don't talk to other people
Oh
on
yeah,
public
in London, there's
transport
not
or
enough
anywhere.
seats for that rule to apply.
Just know the worst thing you can do is try to have small talk. Like
Yep.
that's like doesn't exist.
I have terrible resting nice face and I get asked questions. Like when I was in Finland, somebody would not believe that I didn't know how to get somewhere. And I was like, I promise you, I am not from here. My phone is on the fritz. I need you to find somebody else to give you directions, sir.
Claire, is London, so I know, like, is public transit in London like really big on stand on one side, walk on the other? Like, is that like a point,
Escalators.
like
I mean,
rage for like natives versus tourists?
yes, but that's because it takes ages to get anywhere. No one actively wants to be on public transport. Everybody's late for something. Basically. I mean, the thing is, first of all, there's signs on all the escalators to tell you where to stand, so that's all right. And also, like, because everybody's doing it, it's really it's a bit like you have to try to like go against the, you know that scene in Dead Poet Society where like he makes them walk, and after 2 seconds they're all like walking in unison because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have creativity or something. It's kind of like that.
Because that's how it works.
It's kind of like that. Like you go into a busy, especially if the station is busy, like there will be a fast moving lane in one direction, a slow moving lane in that same direction, and then the same in the other way. And if you're like trying to go against that, you will get tutted at. That's
I will
about
say,
how far we
when
go.
I was in Japan, one of the best things was that people were uniformly going in one direction on one side and to the other on the other side. That's one of my pet peeves, is when people just kind of go like this. And
yeah, you're not making anything faster.
Never
Yeah,
go to
and
Washington, D.C. during tourist season.
Mm. I
Well, we
love
might
DC
have to
when
do
it's
that
not
in a
the-
couple years, though.
I'm not going to complain about a DC WorldCon because it's easy for me to get there.
I mean, I wouldn't complain either because, like, I still have a lot of friends there, but, like, that's why I was asking because, like, I know in DC it's, like, a point of, like, praying for people who live there with tourists who will, like, stand on the left instead of on the right, and
yeah.
tourists
I wouldn't complain about the DC WorldCon because I actually want to visit Washington someday, and you know.
It's,
Oh my gosh.
It's 2021. I wouldn't complain about it either because there are a lot of flights to DC. It's not like Spokane.
So DC, so I will say DC is a lovely city. When WorldCon is happening.
Ooh. I thought that was just me for a second.
No, she froze.
Okay. Fun fact, I love DC during the spring when they have the cherry blossoms, but sometimes it smells funky.
Sorry, my internet like did a weird cut. But yeah, DC in summer is disgusting and
muggy.
Yeah, it's
yeah, but at least you all have aircon everywhere.
Yes, but you still have to go outside at times, and like.
Oh, Dive! I'm so good at avoiding going outside.
Especially if you're taking public transit, the air conditioning doesn't always work.
Oh, I thought it was when people try to mug you.
Oh. Oh, that's delightful. Okay, yeah, no, because this DC, the other two places have withdrawn their bid.
Really?
So that's the only bid now. Obviously, New Zealand won 2020.
Yeah,
I kind of want to go.
Bid, yeah, me too. The only bid for 2021 is DC, and the only bid for 2022 is Chicago.
Really?
Ooh,
Chicago would be fun. I love Chicago.
I love Chicago too.
Yeah,
we could do a field trip to see Sue the T-Rex.
Oh man, I really need to start looking for a job after graduation, like so that I can afford to go on all these conventions.
I mean, yeah, I feel bad saying that, but because I'm a big proponent of WorldCons outside of the US, but DC and Chicago both sounds like places where it's decent to fly there from London. And if I want to try to do Wellington, which I don't know if I...
Well, it's kind of weird, but like there's been like New York, for example. If there was a WorldCon in New York, I've seen flights from Finland to New York for 200 euros.
Yeah, but
for a straight flight.
The space for the convention center is never going to happen in New York.
Yeah,
New York is going to be so expensive.
Yeah,
but that's just an example. There was
no. I mean, I agree with
Philadelphia
you,
and stuff. There were like you can get cheap flights to the US pretty easily.
If it's a big city, yeah. Because I've been looking at WizCon because Renee from Lady Business and a lot of people from Lady Business who are all lovely are talking about going to WizCon, and I'm like, I want to go, but because it's not like a major, because it doesn't have like a major international airport, it's a lot harder to get there, and that makes everything more expensive.
If you want to fly into MSP, I'll drive you.
I would say
which one is MSP?
How far away
Minneapolis?
from you is WizCon?
Madison is like a 4-hour drive.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
The Americans. Oh, the 4 hours not bad.
Hey, I'm driving 4 hours to get to Seattle in March to go to Emerald City. It's not a bad drive.
Here is like 4 hours. It's like a cross country drive. You can like go from one like top to bottom.
The being like 4 hours, it's a super Midwest America thing. If you're on like either of the coasts, you're like, no.
Oh no, see, in California, that's the same. It's the East Coast where it's like 4 hours. That gets me from like DC to New York. That crosses like several states. But like in California, like where I grew up to my grandparents is like 2.5, 3 hours. And like it wasn't a bad drive.
Where did you grow up?
Davis. So so it's close to the capital. It is an ag town, and
okay,
it's where Hassan Minaj is from.
Yes, actually, I finally watched Homecoming King, and it was both very good but also very real in a very uncomfortable way.
But you
like,
liked it, right?
I did like it, but when he was describing like some of the racist shit that happened in Davis, I'm like, oh yeah, I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Davis is very white liberal.
Mm.
I'm trying to picture what that is like.
White liberal?
Yeah.
It's
like basically like I feel like sometimes the equivalent of American liberal is like a Finnish conservative. Like sometimes I feel like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah.
I will agree with that.
It's a lot of
we are a horrible socialist state, you know, with universal healthcare and such. So
white liberal in America.
Most everybody else has, you know. Anyway, sorry. I banned Brexit, so let's not talk about healthcare.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Everything's sad.
But yeah, Davis is hometown of Hassan Minhaj, and Homecoming King is very good. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
I was when I was a kid, I grew up in Whittier, California, which is like maybe 20 minutes east of LA, 20 miles. Yeah, which the only claim to fame we have is that Nixon grew up there, so
whoops. So my favorite, so one of my really good friends at university is a Quaker, and she would like get really mad about Nixon technically being a Quaker.
When I saw the picture of Roger Stone with the Nixon tattoo on his back, I thought Twitter was punking me. I was like, this is just something Twitter made up.
No.
And then I fact-checked it. No,
it's real. It's real.
It's so real.
I mean, it's like a Mario penis.
I saw him trending, and I looked like all the tweets, and someone had tweeted pictures from his office with all the Nixon memorabilia. Like it's basically like plastered on his walls. And I was like, okay, I will never again accept a baby boomer trying to like critique me from my taste of decor ever, because that was just so extra.
Just like and I don't know if it's I don't think it's true or not, but like the FBI agents apparently, like one of them said like this is on the house when they arrested him because they were like not getting paid.
Yeah. Well, it's a good apocryphal tale if it's not true.
Yeah, I
know. In 10 years, they will make a movie out of it.
What's everyone focusing on while they try to catch up for Hugos? Is everyone trying to catch up for Hugos? Because I feel like I'm always trying.
I did not make the membership cutoff for just because with the move and stuff, my budget in December was super tight, and it was just something I couldn't afford. So I need to get a supporting membership so I can vote. But at this point, I'm just like trying to make a dent in my 30 some odd library books.
Yeah,
Were you not a member of San Jose?
No, because it happened while I was in grad school, and
yeah, I was just wondering if a supporting membership to San Jose means you can't. Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, no. Hi, cat. My cat is making an appearance. Hi, sweetie.
Oh, hello, Wiki.
Come on, Carrie.
Oh, are you okay, babes?
The kitty.
Hi, I know.
Honey, just a sec.
Did you want to
So my big focus is that I'm like super behind on all of the YA in all of my life. And so I'm going to try to catch up with some of the Lodestar stuff.
That is the one category I'm just despairing of. Like, I thought I haven't read anything that's eligible that I think is worthy.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be basically starting from scratch, so I feel bad because I really want to support that.
Did you read Hull Metal Girls? I've heard good things about that.
I haven't, but it's on my list of like, I have like a list of like 10 books that I'm going to try to get out from the library and read in time.
Was Hellmetal Girls by Emily Skrotsky?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've got a list because I'd like to. I would really like to be able to recommend things to people, but I don't feel comfortable recommending things in categories where I don't have more recommendations than the actual number of slots. So I would like to read a few things so that I have more, and also things that I know I missed last year. So made a list. But I've got,
Sweetie.
I don't know. I know there's categories I'm going to miss. Like, I don't think I'm going to manage to read enough for the Lodestar because I don't really read. I haven't read that much YA, sci-fi and fantasy last year.
I'm only confident in the graphic novel category. Like,
Well,
that's probably the only category where I'm very well read.
I'll take your recommendations because I realized that I hadn't read anything like new that was SFF last year. Like, I read a lot of Giant Days and like Fence and stuff like that. And also I fell into Check Please last year and I read that like 3 times over.
Check Please.
So good.
So basically, I'm just trying to think of eligible things published in 2018. Yes, I think Motor Crush might be a good contender.
Yeah.
That's hard, right? For the art?
Yeah, Babstar.
I love her stuff.
Yeah, it's so good.
She's doing a web series with Critical Roles called Pub Draws, where she like teaches people how to draw.
Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah, so
cool.
Like I think it airs exclusively on Twitch, and then it goes up on YouTube like a few days later.
I just talked to like Jenna, who's another Booktube friend from Bibliophiles, and we are both just like love Babstar's way of drawing women. Like she has this way of drawing like really sexy eye candy where it feels empowering instead of like objectifying. Like
that's always good.
Yeah, she like the way she draws women is like you have this sense that I want to be that woman instead of like,
that's cool.
Well, that's a nice woman to look at, I guess. And Motor Crush is also like, it's got like a kind of drag racing motorcycling framing device, like the story, but it's science fiction, kind of timey-wimey.
Nice.
I really love that. And the whole like 80s aesthetic neon pastels is like, mwah, I love it. And it's queer, so that's also like it's got all these like I'm willing to throw money at it. Like
yeah, that's fair. I just need to figure out a way that I can read a bunch of things without buying all of the volumes.
Yeah,
because I will very easily let myself do that, and then I will not want to keep.
Yeah, that's always like a trouble with graphic novels because they are so expensive, and a lot of the time you can't find like good deals, like unless you're like a frequent supporter of like Comixology or something.
Yeah.
But even that can get expensive if you're buying like a lot.
Yeah. I always hold off for Barnes and Noble's like 3 for $10 or 3 for $30 or like buy 2 get 1 free deals because they have them frequently enough.
Like I'm not buying books this year like before WorldCon, so yeah.
No, wow, that's
like I'm at the mercy of my library and also my shelf because I can't bring anything new.
Yeah, I wanted to get rid of some. Well, I wanted to bring my like TBR shelf to a point where I can look at it and like reasonably expect that most of it one day might get read. You know, knowing it's not gonna happen, but like looking at it and not being like, "Girl, you're kidding yourself." And so I think I'm just gonna do like Con Mary. because there's a lot of stuff I bought a long time ago when I like first got a full-time job, and I was like, money for book buying. And also I used to live really close to an independent bookshop, or I would go for like writing group and stuff, and I always wanted to throw money at them, you know, because they were cool and letting us use the space. So there's a lot of stuff I bought that like these days I would look at it and be like, this is cool, maybe, and then not buy it.
Yeah.
Gotten a bit stricter, I think.
I got rid of a decent number of books when I moved from Nova Scotia to here, including the complete set of Dresden Files books I had. But I'm still going through and like trying to weed some stuff out, because I still have like a number of books that I'm not quite sure I actually want.
I was talking to Bridget over at SF Blue Stocking, and she was saying she was considering getting rid of her Dragon Riders of Pern books, and I don't know if I could do that.
I still have all of my mass market paperbacks. I used to buy them one by one at Hastings before that chain closed. I would use my allowance money for it, basically. It's back when you could buy a mass market paperback for like $6.99.
Oh, those were the days.
Oh, the nostalgia.
That's how I built up my Mercedes Lackey collection before I got rid of it when my family moved to Nova Scotia.
I bought so much Mercedes Lackey last year because of like, I found this used bookstore and started buying them for like €1 a piece. And then they started like adding up. I haven't read any of them, but they have ponies on the covers.
So I will say, as someone who read a lot of Mercedes Lackey, her earlier stuff is very much a product of being written in the late 80s, early 90s. There's
probably, to be sure.
Yeah, well, and I will say there is in definitely her Eras to the Queen, her Tarma and Kethri books, and the Vaniel books, Rape. So just heads up with that. And then there's some stuff that happened in the first Tarma and Kethri book that made me like stop for a good couple of months when I reread the book a few years ago.
Well, I will say at this point that I have read David Eddings many a time, so I don't think that anyone can have as much and as many problematic things in a single book at one time as like David Eddings has. Like,
I mean, I'm sure we could make an argument, but I don't remember. Okay, so this is really interesting because I was talking about Eddings with someone on Twitter the other day because there was this really interesting Twitter thread about how like the particularly the Belgariad and the Milorian, the way that they are like structured, basically the way the world building is like super racist, because it's basically like, here's a country, like they all look like this, they all act exactly like this, they are all crooks or whatever. And
like I'm just gonna put it out there that the way David Eddings especially Belgariad, just anyway, like especially Belgariad is like an Aryan wet dream, basically, because everyone is white, everyone has like all the good races, and there are good races. That's the first
there's
first,
like good and bad. It's very Tolkien-y, isn't it? Like there's good and bad, and then when you get to the bad people, they're all like not white.
Yeah, they're all like coded as usually Asian or black. For example, the sort of neutral race of the snake people is very much coded into kind of like African and sort of like Indian cultures, and that was even when I was like 14.
I haven't read it in a really long time, but
It's weird because like I have a friend who's currently rereading Eddings, and it's very much like a nostalgic fave for her. So I like, and I've never, because hashtag raised by lesbians, but like I never read Eddings growing up, so like I don't have any like.
I read everything by him because he was very widely translated. Like all of his books were translated into Finnish, and you know when I was a wee little lass trying to get my bearings into fantasy and wasn't really good in English yet, so you read what you had, and Eddings was what was available. So I read pretty much everything he ever wrote, and I have since reread some of his stuff, but it didn't age well.
Yeah.
No, and I mean I didn't read everything he ever wrote because like the point is he always wrote the same fucking thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like that's also one of the jokes.
And
like, if you've read one thing by him, you've read them all.
It's not like, I'm not saying that to like be smarmy or whatever. Like, number one, he said he always wrote the same fucking thing, right? Because he wanted to write like important, serious war stories, but they didn't sell. So like he saw a talking book in a bookstore one time that was on its like 7 years publication, and he went like, oh, this whole piece of shit is still being published, and like literally wrote down a list of stuff that reads like the worst tropes and cliches of fantasy, and was like, I'm just gonna write some books now. And it's literally a plot point in the Malorian that they are going through the exact same shit as happened in the Belgariad, like the same route, and they meet the same people, and the like farm boy prince dude is like, why, old wizard guy, we are seeing the same people as in the first book. Why, yes, it is because the fates. And it's really like, it's just really blatant. Like the guy had no fucking shame.
Is there a magical rock? Is there an old smarmy wizard? Is there a child goddess figure who is also kind of sexualized in a creepy way? If yes to all three, you are reading a David Eddings book.
Did his wife write half of it and then he didn't credit her until the end of his life? If yes, you're reading an Eddings book.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was
off of that tangent, let's get off the Eddings train. It's not a fun train to be in.
I will say for Mercedes Lackey, like she's an author, like I haven't read her stuff recently, but like she has a fairly diverse range of stuff. Like she has her Voldemar books, which is like what she's really well known for, but she also has like a lot of collaborations with other authors, and she'll do Voldemar anthologies where she'll try and like get like some established authors like Tanya Huff, but also like newer authors involved, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
So like just I do appreciate, like Mercedes Lackey was very formative for me. It's just her early stuff, like there's a lot of rape.
Like
and I don't actually, that's literally the point where the reason I picked you up on Eddings and then I forgot because tangent is that I don't actually remember those books being really rapey.
No, not rapey, just racist.
Like, okay, no, I just wanted you to correct me if I was remembering it wrong. Like they are super racist, but like, because you said it can't get more problematic.
Like they're racist and they are sexist. Like there's like so much sexism, like so much. Like,
you know how I said he wrote a list of like things you should have in a fantasy book? He wrote a list of characters you should have in a fantasy book, and then like the last bullet point of the list after he's named like 10 big archetypes you should have is, oh yeah, and give them all some girlfriends.
Yeah, that's one of the things that always bugged me. Everyone got married. Everyone, at the end of every series, everyone gets married, and then he writes the next series, and those characters who didn't get married in the first one get married in the second one. It's and I mean, remember,
the thing is, I only know this shit because I read the Codex of Riva, which is like an like 600 page book about the world building of David Eddings.
Yeah,
so,
the Codex
I'm not
of Riva
throwing
is
shade or anything.
Basically a 101 on how not to world build anything. It's like he basically did a bunch of confessions on I did literally jack shit of any kind of actual work regarding my world building, and instead just swiped things I thought looked cool from history, like the Romans, for example. Like, and it makes no sense. It's just like I think it was really formative for me when I was a teen, but also like I read Tad Williams when I was a teen, and that's so much better. Like I'm currently in the middle of reading like slowly through the Dragonbone chair, and it's like it's actually really good still. Like
That's really nice.
Yeah. It's really wonderful when you go back to a thing that you really liked as a kid or at any point in your life, and you still find that it's like actually decent, and you don't want to claw your eyes out for liking it or having.
I had a weird experience where in high school I read Scott Lynch's the first two Gentleman Bastards books.
Yeah.
And as I got back into YouTube, I was like, everyone was like, oh, you need to read Scott Lynch. And so I was like, I'm pretty sure I've read this. As I went through the first one, I went through the second, it got to the like weird the weird like shark jumping thing. And I was like, oh, I've definitely read this.
I love those books. I love them.
Did anyone here, and this might be, did anyone here read Melanie Ron, like back in the day?
No, I don't think so.
I know that name. What was she known for?
So she was known for the Dragon Prince books, I want to say. But the one, I didn't read those, but the one I read was the Ruins of Ambrai and the Mageborn Traitor. And there's like a third book in that series, which has been in, she hit a bad stretch of depression, I think, and like never got around to writing it. So it's like in development hell. But I've been like feeling weirdly nostalgic, and I can't remember like if they're actually good or if it's just me again being weirdly nostalgic.
One of the goals that I have for this year is to actually go back and pick up some of the like my favorite books from like 10 years ago or so and try to read them.
You're braver
and
than
see
I
if
am.
they hold up still, and I'm kind of scared to do
I ran into that problem with Mercedes Lackey, where I was like, I want to reread the Tarman Cathry books, and then I hit the thing that made me walk away for like a month and a half because it was just a lot.
Yeah.
You're not helping, Kat.
No, Kat is helping.
No, Kat
is great helper.
Kat is very much not helping.
You just aren't appreciating the help you're getting.
I mean, she would certainly think so.
She's helping herself to some cuddles.
That is very true.
Yeah, I mean, you can't let the humans do anything because they're bad at it, so...
I always think I'm pretty sure when I go on trips, I get back and my cat is just, like, he won't leave me alone. And I think in his head, he's going, you dumb, bald kitten. Why are you keeping getting lost? You're supposed to stay where the food is.
I'm already kind of dreading like going to Dublin for a week, because I know that when I get back, both these cats are gonna be like, you dumb person, you were away and now we won't talk to you ever again. You can still give us food though.
I want to go to one of the poison gardens. They have one at Blarney Castle.
Ooh.
I just want to go everywhere. I have this list of things like.
Oh wow, you're so prepared.
Like I'm not prepared at all. I'm just like so excited that I'm just constantly jotting things down so that I don't forget, because I have a pigeon brain.
No, I mean, you've made me think I should do that too, because I forget things really easily. So, yeah.
Like I have like spreadsheets of spreadsheets, and then I forget that I made a spreadsheet, and then I make a new spreadsheet. So then I have like these folders that are filled with different kinds of Excel spreadsheets, and I'm like, why did I make this?
Maybe your brain just wants you to have more spreadsheets. Have you considered that?
Maybe.
I do
Rachel,
like
hold up
me a
your...
good spreadsheet though. Like
Rachel, hold
there's
up your
something
project
deeply
again.
satisfying about them.
Let me see that. Oh, it's looking good already.
Oh man, that looks so good.
Oh wow.
I've never done an Afghan that's you just do it all at once. I've always done pieced ones before, and I wanted to try doing a ripple, so that's what I'm doing. It's a V-stitch ripple pattern.
The
Nice.
ripple looks good.
I can show you what I've gotten done. Like that's
Helmiku.
what I've done.
Wait, is that Finnish?
Yeah, that's the title page for my February bullet journal.
No, it's just funny because do you guys watch
Isn't it Danish?
Books and Quills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I was like,
Yeah.
is that like just a crossover word from Danish to Finnish, from Dutch to Finnish, or is it just that she has a random Finnish like series? It's Finnish word that she named her series. It's weird. Anyway.
I know she has a whole video on it. On why she said.
I just haven't seen that in a million years.
Like basically what I do every time I'm like watching videos or anything is like I'm doing like bullet journal stuff. It's like,
oh sorry, you're just seeing my
one
hair.
of
I'm trying to read my pattern.
It's like one of the things that I started last year, and I was surprised that I actually kept up with it the whole year, like every month, because usually when I do projects like this, I kind of remember to do them for the first couple months, and then it kind of starts to, go by the wayside. I'm feeling like I'm being spied here because both of the cats have come here and they are like staring at me very demandingly.
When's their dinner? Have they had that already?
Their dinner is whenever I'm going to bed. That's when their dinner is, because otherwise they will just keep me up all night.
Yes.
So
They just want to know if you're sleepy yet. Yeah, Tabby's dinner is in an hour, but she already like got up to walk to go in the living room to like start lobbying.
Carrie already got her breakfast. Now she's just demanding intense cuddles.
That's fair.
I'm just wondering why they never go to my partner. Like even when they're at home, they never go to them. They're always just trying to get me to give them food. Maybe I'm the easy person. Like I cave in too easily.
That's my problem all the time.
They're just creatures of habit. So if you've done it once, if it's just you doing it most of the time. Like Tabby doesn't even consider asking John for food. He's not the food human.
So I am caught up on my book blanket right now, so I'm going to need your guys' opinions on my other project I'm working on. So,
yes,
yarn. I went to the fancy yarn store yesterday, like I told you guys, and this is the...
that's so pretty.
Yeah, I'm going to make a really lacy shawl out of this stuff.
So cool.
Nice.
But when I was in Colorado over Christmas, I went to a yarn store there, and I've been working on something. I have to decide how I want to finish this. So it's going to be a scarf, but it wasn't quite long enough, and I didn't want to rip it out and start over again. So I've got this.
Ooh. Could you do buttons on it and make it like one of those button cowls?
Maybe. I had some left over after I got done with this. I thought, I'll make some squares and put them on the ends.
Oh, sure.
But I'm starting to second guess myself on whether this is going to work or not.
Yeah.
So I had to go and get some more yarn because I wasn't going to have enough no matter what I did. So I've been making this.
Ooh.
And I got to rip it out and do something slightly different on the outer portion because I'm running out of the gray. So I got more red. So it'll be like red and then gray and then red and then gray again on the outside.
That's cool.
But I have to make 2. This is the other one that I haven't done all the way. I'm not really sure. The more I look at it, I'm like, there's such different patterns, you know?
I really like the button idea.
Yeah, same.
I have no idea how to do buttons in crochet.
Well, you could probably just affix
well-
some like really large statement wooden ones
Mm-hmm.
and then create like a single chain loop that you can
Yeah.
affix to the side.
That's what I was about to say. Single chain loops. It's
Yeah.
probably the easiest way.
I also really need to get like some shawl pins. Well, I just in general I need shawl pins, but yeah, I want to attach the blocks to the end. I'm just not sure how good it will look.
Yeah.
But on the other
I don't
hand,
know.
I'm the only person who's going to wear it, so I can do whatever I want. And I'm doing the
Very
patterns
true.
because I like the textures. So
Yeah.
Oh,
We're gonna have to go to the yarn store in Dublin so that we can we'll do like a special WorldCon yarn project or something.
yes, please.
So you found that like dragon scale cowl.
Isn't it so cool?
Yeah.
And I was looking up the crochet versions kind of like that, and the one I found, I bought the pattern. It was like $6
Okay.
and got it. And yeah. I'm thinking about making one now to like learn how to do it. I end up doing like every project 3 times or starting it 3 times so I can learn how to do it properly. But I could make one out of like cheap yarn and then be
make
ready
one out
to
of-
know exactly how much I'll need when I get some nice yarn in Dublin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm into it. That should be like one of our first stops is to a really nice yarn store.
And then like
That'd
in every panel.
I saw
Yeah.
like this very awesome like dragon scale glove pattern, and I'm currently trying to learn to make all the like stitches.
Yeah. I'm
Nice.
gonna see if I can find that Ravelry pattern because I'm still in love with it. Are we all crocheters or are we all knitters? Or like what is our
I'm a
breakdown?
knitter. I want to learn how to crochet this year, though.
I do both. I primarily knit, except for when I want something that works up fast, I will crochet.
Kind of same. I mean, I prefer the actions of crocheting, but I think the results of like knitting often not looks better, but is like easier, you know, to like wear and stuff. Because with a crochet pattern, they're almost like very geometric, you know. I feel much more comfortable like modifying a knitting thing than I do, or knitting pattern or whatever, than I do crochet. Like crochet, I'm like literally, you know, wedded to the pattern.
I am dropping the pattern in both our chat for the Hangouts and in the chat box on the page or on the stream, so anybody who wants to can see it because it's badass.
This makes me want to learn how to knit because it's so pretty.
It's so pretty.
I'm really not good at knitting.
I think I might try my hand at it and just say like I might get some like cheapy yarn here and try out like you're gonna do with yours.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
I like this.
Hit up Michael's or Joanne's.
Like they don't see enough of me already. The other one I really like is one. Because once I started seeing all of the dragon patterns, I started looking actively for dragon patterns.
Obviously, that makes sense.
I also am very fond of this guy right here.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, this one's crochet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Let's see.
It's a matter of how ambitious do I want to be.
Oh, that's
okay?
really pretty.
This is
Mm.
Tunisian crochet. That's
the one with the
texture is
long
a little
hook.
different, yeah.
But if you are going between the two, Tunisian crochet might be a little easier to catch on to.
Yeah, I figured it out once, and it seemed pretty easy once I got the hang of it, but yeah.
Oh, that's really pretty.
Ooh, that looks really good.
I'm getting to that point now, especially since I've discovered Ravelry, that I have more projects lined up than I have time to do.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I going to do next? I'm in the middle of like 3-4 things right now. I need to finish one before I start something else.
I was today years old when I discovered Ravelry.
Ooh.
It's dangerous. It is. It's
R.I.P. your time.
Yeah, I'm probably like not going to leave this website anytime soon. Thanks for that, Bree. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. I'm really good at finding places for people to sink their time on the internet. A useless skill.
Like last time this happened was when I found this store that specializes in selling like craft material specifically for cosplay. And I basically spent my entire afternoon compiling a wish list of items I want to buy at some point.
This is the best way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah, truly.
So are there any... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm also kind of wanting to like maybe do some cosplay for like WorldCon this year.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, still trying to figure out what I want to cosplay, but it would be fun to like do something.
I really need to make time this year and go to the masquerade because I've missed it the previous 2 WorldCons, and it just looks like it'd be awesome to attend that and see.
Yeah, I also like missed it during the Helsinki WorldCon because that was the day when like everyone was starting to get sick. And also,
was it the day where like the heavens opened?
Yeah, it was that day. Like first of all, everyone was starting to get sick with the Concrad, and then there was also the helly storm.
That was crazy.
We were just stuck at the hotel.
Scary. And then we went to the hotel restaurant, right, and started eating, but we all arrived kind of at different times because we had all come back from the convention center, and the waiter had never seen a table of people where you arrive at different time, and he was such a little salty so-and-so
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, excuse me. And then we tried to pay separately, and he was just like, done with this shit.
Yeah, but the whole thing about paying separately is also like everyone in Finland does that. You always pay separately. Even people who are couples pay separately. Like what's like that? Like it was so weird.
I don't know.
So it's like he was so unnecessarily rude about it.
Yeah, you can't beat the guy at the very first place that we went though, where we had the Viking hats.
Yeah.
And he was so not sure what, like, because we walked in at like 10 minutes till close. We were those jerks.
I arrived after it was closed, and so I couldn't order any food. And then like Denise had some, like, I don't know, there was some meat in her food that she didn't realize when ordering, so she gave it to me. And then like the guy showed up with y'all's desserts, and I suddenly had some food in front of me, and he was like, what the f- going on? What are those weirdos doing?
Yeah, customer service is not our forte, apparently. Like, sorry
You're all
about that.
delightful.
Unless you're going to a bar, because I think when we went to the steampunk bar, that customer service was very good.
That gin drink was very good.
Yes, it was. I still think
those
my
gin
life
drinks were
peaked
very
at
good
that
and
point.
very strong.
Yes.
I am still not over the fact that like I dressed up in like my steampunk costume that I only bought because I came directly from Nine Worlds and I was wearing it at Nine Worlds. I dressed up in that for the Hughes because it was fancy. And then Susan invited me to the loser party and it was at the steampunk bar. And it was like this random series of like
Fortuitous events.
coincidences and fortuitous events, yeah. And then I was like in steampunk get up at the steampunk bar.
I'm still kind of envious that you got to go to the Hugo losers party. Like,
and then Susan told George R. R. Martin that she liked his hat. Because she's such a sweetheart.
I love Susan.
And meanwhile, she's wearing I think she was wearing an orange squid hat because she'd won. So that was wild.
How many rows do I have?
Oh, do you have a stitch counter?
Stitch counters are for people who care about the gauge of what they're making.
Okay. I mean, Brie, I don't own one. Okay.
I'm just using pen and paper to keep track of how many rows I've done for a particular color.
Like, one of my friends has one of those like counters like that you like those digital counters that you click and then the number
but you have
goes
to
up.
remember clicking it.
Yeah, I would probably like forget to click and then I would look at it and it still says like something like 11 or something and I'm like, I'm sure I've done some more than that, but okay, must believe what it says on the tin.
I have some really fancy like magic counters, like the spin ones that I should use, but I don't, because that would require foresight. Okay.
That was just a beautiful, like your reaction to that, like the utter like we do not do that. It reminded me. I don't know if you've ever seen those at a past WorldCon, but there's I can't remember her name, so I feel bad. But there's someone who I know from Helsinki, like volunteering, who has those little ribbons that say, "I find your lack of yarn disturbing," and she'll give them away to people in exchange for a good story.
Nice.
Yeah.
I still want to like make some like my own ribbon to give out to people.
Yeah. I need to check with people because I need to check with people who are like better versed in like WorldCon traditions than I am, how long away you have to do them, because I would like, I mean, I don't know if they're expensive or not, but I don't think they're too bad because a lot of people make their own. I think it would be cool if we could get together and like get a bunch of Booktube SFF.
Yeah, that was something that was talked about. And I've looked a little into them, and I think that they weren't too expensive. For example, there was one in the US that was like something like $10 for like 50 ribbons or something like that. And the higher amount you get, then
the cheaper it
obviously
is.
goes down the cost. But
one of us who's coming to Dublin from the US, if one of us can order them from because obviously, I mean, I don't know, but I think a lot more companies do them in the US than in the UK.
And in Europe, I don't think there is that kind of ribbon tradition
No.
in general. So that's why all of the companies that I looked at were based in Canada or the US.
I've thought about doing it and ordering it. I've looked
But
into
it
it.
just seems so fun. I loved collecting ribbons. Like ribbons were the best.
My favorite is always like there's like an obligatory 12-year-old running around the con who's got one just like 6 times his height.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wish I would have been one of those like obligatory 12-year-olds running around. That would have been like if my childhood had been like that, it would have been perfect.
Yeah. My parents aren't really into it. Also, they don't. I mean, that's mean. I was gonna say they don't like people. They do. They just don't like traveling a lot. There you go.
Fair.
Ribbons sound a lot like swaps from Girl Scouts.
I don't think it's very dissimilar. But yeah, have you seen pictures of like people? It's a little ribbon with something written on the one side. Can you even see? It's got something written on the one side, and then on the other side, it's just got sticky tape so that you can peel it back, and then you can like stick it to the bottom of your badge. But then you can stick a whole bunch of them to like the bottom and the bottom and the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you'll get some official ones. Like if you're staff, you'll get like a staff one, a particular color and all of that. Like that way people can tell who you are. And then Hugo finalists get one. And then Hugo, like previous Hugo winners get one and all of that. But yeah, they're really cool. And I like having loads of them.
Yeah, this year I'm also like going to bring a needle and thread so that I can do some safety threading on some of them, because at some point the glue will start to kind of de-stick.
Yeah.
So if you want the whole thing to hold together, you have to start like putting it together.
Okay, we have a question from
super glue.
chat. Favorite sci-fi movies of 2018. Do you want to start talking about what you're putting on your long-term ballot?
Into the Spider-Verse.
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place movie. Cry both times I saw it.
I didn't see anything in 2018.
have not seen that because it sounds so fucking scary.
I didn't see a whole lot of movies in general, but Into the Spider-Verse, I think, was my favorite.
Good.
I didn't see a whole lot of sci-fi movies. Black Panther was good though.
Black Panther.
I really liked Black Panther.
I mean, I liked a lot of what they did with the art of Into the Spider-Verse. I thought, you know, after coming out of it and like chilling a little bit and going like, oh my god, it was so pretty for like an hour. I think maybe the storytelling was a bit conservative. Like the narrative of it was a bit tropey. There were like 2 ladies.
Yeah, like
there's a lot of characters in there. It's a bit difficult to get like
that I
everybody's.
ship, by the way.
Wait, which of them?
You ship Aunt May and Doc Ock, Lady Doc Ock?
Obviously, because
I mean, they do know each other, and I wanted to know more about that.
She called her by her like nickname that she gives
I
out
know,
to friends.
Yeah, like
I'm into it.
Coincidence?
Well, and also
think
in the
not.
comics, there's a cover at one point where it's like Aunt May's marrying Doc Ock, and so I think there's like actually a history in the comics of May.
It is.
And
There's
Octavius.
like canon history of Aunt May marrying the male version. So
plus Aunt May in Spider-Verse is played by lesbian icon Lily Tomlin.
Also plus Doc Ock has a rainbow-colored hair tie.
I'm just super
movie.
into like.
I mean,
I love the idea of making Lady Doc Ock with the lady dreads. I'm into it.
Look, I do ship it. I feel a little bit eye rolly at the idea that like, oh my god, they've given her like a rainbow hair tie, and now we have to like be, you know, make it actively gay, you cowards.
Yeah, that's also something that I'm always like, make it gay, make it queer. Stop beating around the bush.
But they're doing a Spider-Woman spin-off with Gwen and I want to say Jessica Drew and hopefully some.
Yeah, it's like gonna be an all female crew. I'm
I'm
really looking forward to it.
super here for it.
Because I think because the story itself, like, yeah, and some of the elements, like the fridge, the wife and son bullshit, like it's just I don't know. I still think. I mean, it is so beautiful and it's so smart, like what they're doing with the comic book, like panels and the animation and stuff. But like,
one of my favorite, like
also.
it has, like, that movie, in my opinion, had some of the best, like, jokes. Like the jokes were like really, like, intelligent and also funny. Like I really like that.
Also, Miles' parents, like, it was really refreshing to see, like, good, alive parents.
And I really like the idea that, like when they had the Spanish language part of the script, like, not translating it, right? Like, because why should you have to, I guess? I don't know. It was just very naturally integrated. Rachel, have you seen Into the Spider-Verse?
Nope.
It's so good.
It's very
so that's
good.
what I need to watch.
Beautiful. Like,
you have homework.
Yes.
Okay. Can I watch it without having watched like anything with Spider-Man?
You can go in and
yeah.
It's not tied to any other.
It's a Sony movie. It's not a, I mean, it's in collaboration with Marvel or whatever, but it's technically, it's one of these bullshit things where the rights to Spider-Man are owned by 2 different studios. This is why Marvel makes a Spider-Man movie like every other year, because if they don't, the rights will revert.
You mean Sony?
Sony. Yeah. Sony does.
Yeah. The rights will revert.
You can watch it without knowing anything about Spider-Man at all.
Yeah, and they do a good job of like giving you the primer of this is Peter Parker, this is his story, like just like the maybe less than 5 minute like.
I love how all the origin stories in it are made. Like it was really good.
Yeah, you also don't have to sit through an origin story you probably already know just from pop culture. So that's nice.
Yeah.
And also I think the like, as an animation nerd, that movie is like you can pick apart all of the frames in that movie and just like you have material to last for days.
Yeah, someone's gonna write a thesis on that someday.
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
What else?
Well, I will definitely get it whenever my library has it. So.
Okay.
Yes.
What else for movies? Annihilation was this year? That was beautiful. Was it this year or was it last year?
I don't know. Time has lost meaning.
2018, so last year.
Okay.
Okay. Because
but this Hugo sometimes important.
I'm still surprised that like
I've seen it, but it was okay. I'm not sure what to say about it. Like, I read the book back in the year it came out, and I love the book. The 2 sequels are okay, but the Annihilation stuff was just amazing, and it was so good because of the atmosphere, and it just and I feel like the movie, it did enough of its own thing, so it wasn't like a 1-to-1 remake of the book or whatever. And it was pretty, and I liked the acting, and it was okay. This is why I'm not a movie critic. It's why I don't talk about a lot of movie stuff or whatever, because I just
I thought it was really pretty. Like the design of a lot of the creatures, I think they did a good job.
Yeah. I think maybe part of my problem with it is it has enough scary stuff in it and enough almost like horror elements, especially when they're visual, that were disturbing. And when I was reading the words, I could not imagine what some of that stuff looked like. It wasn't scary when I was reading it. But yeah, I don't like to watch scary things in movies, so.
That's fair.
I made 2 more square. Well, I'm calling them squares because that's, crochet, but
Yay!
I made
Should
2 more hexagons.
Should we end by showing what we've done?
Sure.
Well, by the way, I think I've decided on a color scheme.
That's
good.
I went via the very scientific method of which color do I want most of in my blanket, which I've decided is this. Oh, this is really bad for color. So this is a light purple, and it's going to be fan fiction. So yeah, I'm doing romance and sci-fi as my purples, dark purple and light purple, and then I'm doing romance and fanfic as my purples, and then sci-fi and fantasy as my blues. Because I can't put 2 colors that are really close together as 2 genres that are really different from each other.
Yeah,
because brain's weird.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest decision, and then I'm gonna do comics in this nice coral that makes a big pop of color because I read a lot of comics too.
That's gonna look good.
And he's gonna be YA.
Ooh, I like the contrast colors. Yeah,
I've got a couple of other. I've got nonfiction and other as well, but those 2 will be very, very sparse. But yeah.
I'm using one of my most awful fabrics.
Let's see. I didn't work on my blanket today, but I have a bunch of my sweater done.
Ooh.
This is really pretty.
I am working on my scarf. So let's see, pulling it up. So light purple is fantasy, dark purple is science fiction, red is romance, the light blue is nonfiction, and the green is YA. And then I already showed the charcoal color for Star Wars. And then my poor bag is... I need to find a new way to store all the yarn. And then beige is other. And then this dark red is mystery, which I haven't used yet because normally I start reading mysteries in summer when I start inhaling cozy mysteries.
Yeah.
Well, I only have 6 colors. And this one, I don't know if you could even see what color that is.
Like a gray beige?
It looks purple in some lights. It looks brown in others.
Okay.
It looks gray sometimes. The yarn color is called brownie, so I think it's supposed to be kind of a brown color. But this is my miscellaneous color. I've been collapsing a lot of genres that I don't read that much of into just one other category. Red is my favorite color, so obviously that is science fiction. And then the gold is for fantasy. I figured that would contrast really nicely with the red for science fiction. I got a charcoal gray. It looks very black sometimes. That's for nonfiction. And then this is almost like a wine red purple color. I don't remember what that one is for, actually. I have a cheat sheet somewhere around here. I think I've only used it once. And then the white is for middle grade and young adult, which I don't read that much of, but I figure it's a nice...
It'll give a good pop.
It's a nice separator color to keep some of the others from running together. And so it's good motivation for me to continue my reread of Diana Wynne Jones's books. It's like a ton of middle grade. I gotta read one of those every time I want to separate the red,
Yeah, I've had to go all right, now I've read one fantasy book. I need to pick up next a thing that's not a fantasy. And I've never done that before, as an exercise in picking books, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to let myself, if I have read a couple of things that are all the same genre and I don't want to stack rows of the same color, I'll let myself flip things if they're only a day or 2 apart. Because I read so much, and sometimes I finish 3 things in one day because I read the last 50 pages of each. Then I'm going to let myself put them in whatever order will look better.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And for fan fiction, I've decided that a fic over 50,000 words gets a hexagon. But like, for instance, in this month, I read 2 fics over 50k and then loads of shorter stuff. But like the 2 fics over 50k weren't even like the greatest, right? I read a really, really lovely fic that was like 30. So I'm choosing to let the hexes stand for, like, just as a metric that I can count. But I think those I'm going to allow myself to put wherever because I read fanfic constantly. So
That's good.
Yeah, and I decided to exclude novellas and comics. Anything of those type, I'm not including.
I'm gonna have a lap quilt if I do that.
I decided I was
read
going to
so
plan
much.
this whole thing around my reading stats because I have reading stats going back for so long. I'm like, I pretty consistently read between 190 and 210 like novel length things that are like 300 pages or so. So I would just use those things and I could say this will be about 200 books and I'm doing half a row for each. So it'll be about 100 rows and it'll probably be the right size.
Did you say you're doing half a row for each? For each, sorry. How does that look?
I don't think it's like you can see it right there.
That's cool. So that's
going. I have a marker in the exact middle, and I go up one slope past that so that they slightly overlap in the middle rather than having the join go up the middle. I thought that would like be really distracting if the join is too consistent. So we'll see how it works.
Cool. That's really neat. I didn't realize that when you were doing it.
Yeah, I was doing, this is like my third attempt to do this because I was doing gauge swatches and I realized that if I did a row for every book, I would end up with 2 Afghans instead of 1.
Whoops.
Okay, so next month we're meeting on Claire's channel?
I think so.
Is that right?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna figure out how to do a live stream.
Our organization sheet. We had an organization sheet. I thought it was a thing.
No, we did. I just didn't look at it.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Are we talking about Claire's turn in February?
Yes, Claire's turn. And we will all do our best to make sure that we put up a notice on our channels and things like that about when this is going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been having to
do
hop
that this
on
time
and off
around.
this last bit. I've had this weird coughing fit for like the last 15
Oh
minutes.
no.
Oh yeah, you would. I was wondering what was going on, and I didn't want to ask in case it was like super private or whatever. But
I was just like coughing and didn't want to be on camera, like coughing my lungs out. I've like this is probably like I had this like 7-day flu.
Ooh.
So this is the last dregs of that.
Oh well, hopefully you feel better soon. Yeah, I'm gonna try and find that document again so we can figure out when we'll do next time, and then we can do like a poll or whatever, a doodle poll for all of us to figure out when we're doing February.
Okay.
Hi, Kitty.
All right, I'm gonna head out because I'm at the end of my time where I'm at. So
yeah,
cool.
All right.
Thank you for
I
having
think it's
me.
good time to stop for all of us then.
I gotta go feed the cat.
Yeah.
I need to go
I'm
plug in my
starving.
computer.
Right, bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.